Good morning. I'm Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms, and I'm trying to enliven this world of pandemic parenting by doing live chats, Charter Moms chats every weekday morning at around 9 a.m. So right now I'm sitting, actually this is where my daughter usually sits to do her homework, but she's playing outside. Thankfully it is not raining. The weather's actually pretty nice right now in San Antonio. It's kind of in the low 70s, a little bit humid, but after several rainy days, I'll take it. And I'm thankful that we have a backyard that the kids can play in. So they're probably on the swings or maybe turning on the hose or something. So what I wanted to talk about today is look at life skills. Like, since we're at home with our kids and they're not in school for a typical school day, it does create an opportunity for us to, teach them some of the things that they'll need to learn to live independently. Now, I don't want this to come across as like a guilt thing or that I'm laying an extra burden on you as parents. So basically, like if today turns out to be one of those days where everybody just wears their pajamas and watch videos, I am not judging because we have those days too. But if you do feel like you want to, try to find a silver lining in all this, it's, like there's a lot of dishes to do and you might as well get some more help. So I want to kind of tie this back into a chat that I did, I think it was last week. I talked about motivation, and that was more tied in with schoolwork, like keeping your kids motivated to do their schoolwork. And a lot of it comes down to how you talk to your kids about doing their schoolwork. And it's work that starts when they're pretty young, but it's never too late to start. And, like raising your voice or yelling or because I said so is not a good long-term strategy. It's, that's extrinsic motivation. So what really gets people to do their best is intrinsic motivation, right? Which is, for schoolwork, it's plugging into their passions. So if it's dinosaurs, you want them to learn writing, but they love dinosaurs, find a prompt that has to do with dinosaurs and write about that. So that's tapping into their motivation, but to help them develop the skills that they need. It may be a little bit harder to do that with chores, but but part of it is that, I guess, like I love looking back at my kids pictures of them when they were little and their cute little round faces, but I like the people that they're becoming, and I know someday they will grow up and they won't live with me anymore, and they'll have their own lives, and I hope they remember to call. But that's the goal, right? Is that they're not going to stay young forever. We want them to be independent and someday maybe have families of their own, and they can pass on these skills, and they'll realize that the sort of the karma involved of raising people who share your DNA. They give you the headaches that you gave your own parents. But that's a topic for another day. So you can think of this in terms of, like, there's kind of things around the house that you can do. There's kind of things with technology that you can share. So I'd say, okay, so my kids, I have a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old, and I'm trying to just be more mindful of, like, if I'm about to do a chore, to grab one of them, unless they're in the middle of their schoolwork or something, but like grab one of them and say, okay, here, I know I've shown you this before, but it bears repetition. Let's start a load of laundry, right? So it's like, here's the detergent, here's, you press this button, this button, this button, these are the dark colors, so you use cold water, just those little pointers, and just having them watch you do it, there's benefit in that. And part of it is, there's a term that I learned from my homeschool friends called scaffolding, right? Which is, like, you don't expect them to just do it all at once. Even if you give them a checklist, like, you don't just throw them in and expect them to learn it. Like, you kind of support them along the way, and then you kind of pull some of the scaffolding back, and then eventually the building stands on its own without the scaffolding, right? So I would say how we've done trash kind of works like that, like taking out the trash. So it used to be where, at first I had to show them, like, even when they were really strong enough to lift the whole bag of trash, but they get stronger, they get bigger, and like figuring out like where we keep the trash cans outside. And, now it's to the point where like they know which days the garbage truck is coming. They know when to take the big trash cans down to the street, or when the recycling, which is trash day and which is recycling day. They know where the extra boxes of trash bags are. So if they use up a box of trash bags, they know how to find more. And next goal is teaching them to put that on the shopping list, that we need to buy more trash bags. But there's right, so we're not all the way there, but and they still need reminders sometimes of like, okay, dinner's over, we cleared the plates, now you need to take out the trash. But it's getting to the point where sometimes they even do remember on their own. So that's another thing I've talked to before about like structure and having certain habits, things that happen at certain times of day. It is a really nice feeling to have. I guess, okay, so I don't like having struggles where like I ask for help and I get the eye roll or I get the sarcasm. I don't like that. I do not like that at all. So what I try to do is teach the kids that they need to take initiative and they need to be independent. And that is a longer term goal. But I feel like that's part of like, so that when they're on their own and they don't have, a mom or a dad or, somebody, a drill sergeant or whatever in their life, like hollering at them to do stuff, that they will just think, well, this is what needs to be done. I just need to take out the trash. We're still working on that, but but it takes baby steps. It takes scaffolding, and you just have to start somewhere. I can tell you there are times when it's the end of the day and I am just worn out, or I'm just feeling kind of down or kind of frustrated at this pandemic situation that we're in, and then to see my kids taking the trash out and knowing that I don't have to do it, and then I hear the rumble of the cart as they take it down the street. It's a really good feeling. Becca says good morning Becca. It's a good feeling to feel like you're not on your own, that you have family members who really are going to help you and really are going to try to make your life easier. And it gives me comfort thinking that, I'm shaping them to someday, be a good person or a good partner to their spouse, someone who helps out. So, I mean, trash is, I've kind of gotten into detail about our process of like, them learning how to do the trash. But I would say, yeah, laundry is something that we've worked on. I still check how they sort because I admit I'm kind of particular about it, but, they help fold, they help put away. I would say for dishes, I don't know, my daughter seems more interested in that than my son, but so that's one thing, like, different kids may have different things they like or dislike, so you kind of roll with it. But my daughter's getting pretty good at loading the dishes. Like, she knows what goes on the top rack, what goes on the bottom rack, how to space it out so that it, everything gets clean. It's been easier to teach her than it's been to show my husband how I like it done. So I'd say just be flexible about that. They know where the broom is. They know where the, we keep a pile of rags that we have, kind of reusable towels that we use for cleaning. So they know how to clean up spills. I'm not claiming I'm a great housekeeper, but, it's nice to get a little extra help here and there. Let's see, I demoed how to clean a toilet, which, they thought that was interesting. Yeah, those are the things around the house. Now, so my daughter is interested in cooking. Well, no, they're both interested in cooking. It's just different things, right? So like my son he's getting pretty good at making his own peanut butter sandwiches. My daughter she knows how to make mac and cheese, which involves boiling water. So that's kind of challenging. It can be hard to watch your kids handle like a pot of boiling water or a sharp knife, like when they're slicing vegetables. But it really is good for them to learn that stuff. And, they're going to need to learn it sooner or later. So, I have my hat tip to the Montessori folks, because some of them have kids who are very young and are also very good at handling, doing meal prep stuff. That is one of the amazing things about the Montessori curriculum. Those, they're handling, like big, glass jugs of water, and no one's like, oh no, that's glass, you can't hold that. Well, Yeah, maybe we can all learn from that a little bit, right? So like if you're doing gardening, let them pick up the pruning shears, keep an eye on them, but, just kind of use your judgment, and they may be more competent than you give them credit for. And maybe this weird situation that we're all in, prompts us to give them a little more flexibility to use tools that we would otherwise have said, oh no, that's too dangerous. But we're home, we're here, we can supervise them using these things. Whereas on a typical day, we might have been like, oh no, I'm too busy, or here, just let me just do that. Well, you know what? Just take a step back and let them try and see how they do, right? So I'd say there's some tech stuff that we've done. So we're fortunate in that each kid has kind of a hand-me-down laptop. These are not new laptops. These are like really old, like barely running laptops, but they get the job done for the remote learning. And so like we have bookmarks set up on their browsers so they can access the Zoom calls when their teachers have office hours. They have their Gmail and their Google Calendar that tells them when stuff is supposed to happen. They have, there's a folder in Google Drive where I've put, I download the stuff from the remote learning site from the school, but then I put it into these little folders so the kids can, we don't print everything that comes from the school. We print some of it. We print the worksheets that need to be filled out, but we don't want to use paper to print everything. So, they can go on their laptop and view stuff. And then my daughter has a way to schedule video calls with her friends, and so she's also using Zoom on her laptop, and to play games with friends and stuff. So one thing that we haven't started yet, but I've been thinking about, is typing, and I've seen some discussion about this, about what typing programs your kids can do while they're at home. So if you have suggestions, one that I've heard of is Typing Pal, but it's something we have not started yet. Again, this goes back to, don't feel guilty if, don't think that everyone else there is ahead of you or is doing more stuff than you are, right? You have to do what's right for your family. And if you just need a pajama day or a movie day, it is okay, because this is a weird situation we're in. So, okay, a helpful comment from Adriana Silva. She says, we print some stuff too. Not at all. It's easier for him to do work on paper. Yeah, I agree with that. You just kind of have to know your kid. So if you have a printer, or if you're able to pick up a printed packet from school, and your kid learns better that way, maybe they like to make notes on the paper, or it's just easier to read on the screen, do what works for your kid. But I'm trying to show my kids that they have the choice to kind of switch back and forth, that they can use the paper that's in the binder, or they can look at it online, and it gives them practice using some of those tools that it wasn't part of what they were doing day to day. And I guess they'd used the laptops in the past to do youth code jam activities, like Hour of Code, and then some, I guess, so in normal times, our kids go to Code Ninjas, which is a really great coding program. It's a couple hours a week with the drop-in hours. They have camps. We are looking forward to, Code Ninjas is planning to offer some more distance learning activities so we can keep up with that. And that's something I'm hoping to use the laptops for too, is I feel like coding is almost like typing or knowing how to use email. It's going to be kind of a life skill, and I want my kids to be equipped on that. So if you have suggestions about typing, coding, sort of safe technology use that your kids are doing, I'm interested, and we might come back to that topic, because it's just interesting to be able to use things side by side with my kids. So I think sometime today, us Great Hearts families, we're going to get information about Google Classroom use by the schools. So I'm curious about how that is. We haven't used Google Classroom before for anything really. I know other districts are already using it. So I'll be interested to know if you have comments on Google Classroom. I guess one thing I've heard, thankfully there aren't that many different platforms that we're going to need to use for remote learning for Great Hearts, I've heard some families complain that it's just so many different things to log into, different platforms. Like some work better on mobile devices, some work better on laptops or desktops, and can just be a lot to juggle. So I guess if you're a school leader or a teacher, like feedback from parents is, please try to simplify as much as you can so we don't have too many logins that we have to manage. It can be hard to find, even like in our parent groups on Facebook, people commenting like, where's the login for this? Where's the password for this? And we can't share logins and passwords on social media, but but we can say, hey, psst, check your email. It was the one on April 3rd. That's the one. Just to try to help each other out. Okay, I'm getting on a tangent. This is supposed to be about life skills for your kids, but actually when it comes to technology, sometimes they're the ones, they do pick up stuff pretty quickly, and sometimes they straighten me out about how to log into Zoom or things like that. I guess, let's see, one thing that, so we had a post late last week from the folks at Fearless Reader. I think Shannon is listening. Hello, Shannon. She's one of the co-authors of that piece, and a really good topic she brought up was you can talk to your kids about budgeting, and she recommended a particular app that's from Dave Ramsey. Now my family doesn't strictly practice Dave Ramsey, but I'm a fan of his advice in general about financial responsibility and finding your independence. And so I would say find last Friday's post. It's Keep Calm and Parent On by Caitlin Baker and Shannon Riddell and of Fearless Readers. And they have a suggestion about like how to talk to your kids about budgeting. And I think one of the challenges that comes from boredom is just wanting more, like more food, more toys, more movies. And we need to stop and reflect, and maybe we don't need more, right? Maybe we have enough. Maybe we have each other and our health, and maybe that's enough. And learning to be grateful for that and live within our means and save for a rainy day. So I do believe in supporting local business, but also you need to take care of your own family and make sure that you're prepared for the future. So that's why I think, it has to be age appropriate, but like I mentioned, so trash, like how I motivate my kids to do trash is they get a check mark each time they do it. When the checkmark sheet is full, it takes 14 check marks, they can pick out a toy. Or if they broke something, they can replace the thing that broke. Because it felt like when they were young, the money part wasn't really that meaningful, but sort of a labor theory of value made more sense to them. So that was how we learned to not lose sweaters and not lose water bottles and not lose umbrellas and things like that at school. So thankfully, we've had a pretty good hit rate on water bottles and sweaters at school, because if you lose your water bottle and it takes you take out the trash 14 times to get a new water bottle, and there's an opportunity cost where you could have used those 14 check marks to buy that game or that toy that you really wanted, but instead you're using it to replace the water bottle. Maybe that will motivate you to check lost and found and find said water bottle. So it's extrinsic motivation. I understand. We don't pay for grades or things like that. That's a whole nother topic. But actually most schools have gone pass fail these days anyway, right? But it does create habits and structure, and it gives them a sense of trade-offs, right? So it's like, well, I want this. Well, is that what you want to write on your checkmark sheet? You already wrote that you wanted, the plushie narwhal, but if you want the plushie dinosaur instead, you can choose that, but you can't have both until you earn more check marks. It's like, oh, so it gives a sense of, things are finite and you have to make it count, right? So if you have a limited amount of resources, and it spreads things out over time, because we've all known times when the kid gets the toy and they lose interest in it pretty quickly, and then they want that new feeling again, but that new feeling, that's what's expensive, right? It's more important to learn to appreciate what we have. So, okay, so those are my thoughts about life skills with your kids. I'm interested to hear your feedback, like what things you're teaching your kids about as life skills. If you're getting fancy with it, like rebuilding engines or deep frying turkeys, let me know. I want to hear all about it. So so I'm trying to plan ahead my topics a little bit more. So the plan on Wednesday is to talk more about, we really miss our museums in town. So we're going to talk more about kind of like the virtual resources that are out there. I mean, I want to try to give some love to our local nonprofits. So, and there's been some great stuff written about that. I know Dawn Robinette is part of our SA Turner Moms community. She's a board member. She's written about that at Elma City Moms, and Deborah Martin at the Express News has written about it. So, so I'm going to draw on their wisdom, but kind of put a spotlight on that of like, you know, how can you still enjoy the flowers at the Botanical Garden and the dinosaurs at the Whitney Museum, even though those institutions are closed. So, but tell me what local organizations you love, that you miss, that you want to learn more about what they're up to. Leave a comment and join the San Antonio Charter Moms discussion group. We'll be talking about it in there too. So, all right, thanks. Have a good day.